It is August 13th, 2024, and I'm going back, picking up where I left off in my last video when I was reading my messages with Abhishek. That last video was about how we ended up having cyber sex. On April 22nd, Abhishek wrote to me, "Do you feel like I took advantage of you?" I replied, "I do feel that way. I forgot myself and felt out of control. However, I'm an adult who is responsible for how she responds to men's advances. Maybe we can both learn something from it together." I did not come clean to Zell. What would it have meant to be an adult who is responsible for how she responds to men's advances? Zell and I were in an open relationship, and he would have been supportive had I been honest with him. Had I actually met a man in person, had I actually wanted to have sex with a man in person, if I had been honest with him, he would have been supportive. He wanted me to be happy. And I was not supportive of him in the open relationship. I was so selfish. All I cared about was how it would impact me if he had sex with another woman. I didn't care about how it would impact him if I had sex with another man. And I didn't care how it would impact him if I had cyber sex with a man behind his back. Those were not stipulations of our open relationship. That day, later on, Abhishek wrote to me, "How was your day?" 7:15 p.m. So I replied at 7:52 p.m., "It's been an emotional roller coaster. Thank you for your apology and kind words, but I still have been struggling. I'm trying to cheer myself up by looking at photos of happy times with my family." That whole day. So he asked me at 9:07, "Had your dinner?" I said, "Actually, no, I haven't eaten much today." He asked me, "Why?" He says, "Mel, please be normal. I don't want to ruin your peace of mind this way. I care about you." I said, 11 minutes later, "Thank you for caring. I'm eating something now." And he asked me, "Was that what you were typing?" I said, "LOL." He said, "I get those message bubbles, you know," with a kind of disappointed emoji. "Melissa typing for an hour, ... Then I get a message. Hi." I said, "I apologize. I just want to say that I can only be friends, and I hope you are okay with that. It would make me feel better to know that we are on the same footing." And he asks, "Why this change?" I said, "This was my first foray into the open relationship, and I just can't do it." He said, "I'm hurt by that." And I said, "I'm sorry. I hope you can understand. I've been crying a lot of the day." He asked me, "Can I call you, please?" I said, "I'm sorry, I cannot do a phone call." I said, "My boyfriend has been comforting me all day, and I don't want to disturb him more." I said, "I have just been crying, so he's been comforting me while I've been crying." He said, "Give me an opportunity to show how much I care about us. That's all I ask for." He said many reassuring things, including him saying, "Love you." "I'm not going to desert you or ignore you. I'm here for you whenever you need me. Please keep that in mind." I said, that's comforting, thank you. He said, life is short. It shouldn't be spent with regrets or hurt, and I certainly don't want you to regret knowing me. That will hurt me more than anything else. At that stage, it would have been so much better if I just said, yes, I do regret this. I do regret from April 6th to April 20th that just within those 2 weeks, it led to me having cyber sex with you and breaking the rules of my open relationship. And I wish I would have been honest with Zell, because I really needed advice on how to handle this. The next morning, he messaged me, "Morning, did you sleep well?" Said, "I woke up in the night from strange dreams. I'm planning to have a more productive day today studying. Hope you have a good day at work." And I could have just stopped responding to him. I could have just... Later on, April 23rd, he wrote to me, "Give Abby a kiss," after sending me a kissing face emoji with a heart. I said, "Sending virtual hug to Abby." He said, "Not enough." I said, "Please don't do this." I was finally feeling relief. He said, "I'm sorry." I said, "I'm so scared. I just need a friend. Please." He asked me, "Do you want me to stop talking to you?" With a crying emoji. He said, "Okay, I'll be your friend. Promise." I said, "Thank you." He said, "You're welcome." He said, "Don't be scared of me. I'm harmless. I'm a nice guy, I swear." I said, "I just have to be firm. Give me space to process this and treat me like you would a friend." There was no going back. I couldn't be friends with this person. You know, he was interested in having an online affair with me. And I was protesting, saying, no, I can only be friends, when it was not possible to be friends. Especially not after I had betrayed Zell in order to have cyber sex with him, to cheat on Zell this way. And I didn't share those messages with Zell. It's just completely unacceptable behavior from me. And I continued talking to him after this. I said I need a friend. Well, he could not be my friend. If I needed a friend, he was not the person to be my friend. It's so stupid. I was thinking that this is somebody who's listening to me. This is somebody who seems to care about me. He's telling me he cares about me. He's said that repeatedly in the messages, that he cares about me. He also asked for my address many times throughout the time that I had, text conversations with him. But this was April 22nd. This was 2 days after we'd had cyber sex. He says, "Tell me your house address." This was 10:25 p.m. And I said, "I can't." He said, "Just give me your address before you sleep." I have done a terrible thing here. And I'm struggling with the guilt of it. And I was coming to Zell saying that I felt guilty about something. And he didn't ask to read my messages. He would have been within his rights to say, "Melissa, you are acting crazy over these messages with Abhishek. I have to read those messages. I have to know what's going on." He didn't ask me to read the messages. If he had read the messages, he would have seen what I had done. He would have seen what I'd done to him. so much would have changed at that point. You know, I had already changed our relationship permanently in these 2 weeks that I was communicating with Abhishek. And by not telling the truth, by lying to Zell, I was destroying our relationship, and I wasn't taking into account how badly this was damaging him. And I was not kind to Zell at this time in talking about the open relationship with him. I was a total hypocrite. For 4 years, I hid this from him. I continued cheating with Abhishek. I had more cyber sex with him. Then I had more cheating with other men. And that whole time, I was abusive towards Zell when he talked about his sexual interests in other women. I cared about how it impacted me. I didn't care about his happiness. I didn't care about making his dreams come true, doing anything to be a positive part of his life this way. It's just awful. It's just, I took a good thing and ruined it. You know, I took Zell's love for me and I dragged it through the mud. I just stomped all over his heart. He did nothing to deserve this, and I was cheating on him. Just the biggest hypocrite with what I was doing here. You know, it's so selfish. He wouldn't have had these messages. He wouldn't have messages like this with anybody. But if he had, he would have told me. Everything would be better for me if I had been honest with Zell at this point. Everything would have been better for Zell if I had been honest with Zell at this point. Everything would have been better for Abhishek if I had been honest with Zell at this point. You know, Abhishek could have said, those were 2 weeks of my life that I was involved with Melissa's life. And now that's over. And he can do something else with his time. He had a full-time job while he was having this online affair with me. While I was betraying Zell for him. It's just hard to cope with sometimes. And when I see how he's responding, saying like, you hate me, don't you? Sigh. And, you know, he is not taking responsibility really for what he's done to me. You know, he wants to have my address so he can send me a gift. He wants to tell me that he cares about me. He says that he wants to be there in person to comfort me. You know, he's saying that, you know, he feels bad, he feels guilty. But then after this, he again wanted to have cyber sex. He again sent me pictures of his erect cock, and it continued for a very long time. If he felt guilty about having done what he did, why did he do it again? And if I felt guilty, if I felt ashamed for having done what I did, why did I do it again? Why did I repeat this process again and again? Neither of us were taking responsibility for what had actually happened. And even though I wrote to him, you know, the very first message that I read here saying, I hope that we can learn something from this. We didn't learn anything from this because we didn't actually reflect on how stupid we were. How stupid it was for us to do what we did. And how damaging it was to Zell. How hurtful it was. What an injustice it was to him. It was my responsibility to explain that and talk about that again and again. And if I had been honest with Zell at that point, it wouldn't have been enough to just apologize to him. I would have had to again and again say, I am so sorry I did this to you. I am so sorry, and it's not going to happen again, and I'm going to prove to you that, like, I care about your happiness. I care about not hurting you. And within my conduct, within the open relationship, I'm going to conduct myself much, much better. I'm going to be a mature adult woman. But I just got worse and worse after this. I got worse in my cheating with Abhishek. I got worse in my cheating with the younger man. And I got worse in my cheating with the black guy, as he's been referred to on this channel. I did more and more things. This big lie led to more and more big lies, bigger and bigger lies. And it led to worse and worse behavior within my relationship with Zell. And he many times was expressing to me how unacceptable my behavior was. I was acting crazy because I had gone crazy. You know, I lost my sanity, what little sanity I had. You know, I drove myself insane by having this secretive affair and thinking of the consequences of if Zell finds out. Kept me awake at night. You know, it was distressing. But at the same time, I kept going. I kept doing it, and I kept making things worse and worse and worse without ever learning anything from it. Because I wasn't honest, and I didn't say how stupid I was being. Didn't analyze, didn't want to analyze, you know. Because if I analyzed it, I would really have to reflect and see how evil I was and how little I cared for Zell, even though he really loved me. He never would have done something like this to me. Never. If he would have gotten out of hand on a video call with a woman, you know, he would have told me the next day. If he would have had sex with a woman when, you know, he was out of town, he would have told me as soon as he could. Because he actually cared about me and he actually loved me. And this shows that I wasn't caring. I wasn't kind. I didn't think about how this would hurt him. I didn't think about the long-term impacts for him. And I was willing to destroy my relationship to have this online affair with Abhishek. And I lied about it for 4 years. I just made things worse and worse and worse for 4 years. It doesn't help if somebody comes to you saying that you hurt them the way that Abhishek is responding here by saying, "You hate me, don't you?" And saying, you know, "I care about you. You shouldn't cry because of me. Please don't cry for my sake." You know, that he's overwhelmed. He's overwhelmed when I'm confronting him by saying just the impact this has had for me. You know, what does it mean to actually take responsibility, to do something to make amends? You know, Abhishek could have made amends for this too. He could have messaged Zell himself saying, "Hey, I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry that, you know, Melissa and I had this cyber sex. I know it's not following the rules of your open relationship, and that's my bad, man." You know, that would have shown that he was somebody who cared about doing the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. And obviously, if I had cared about doing the right thing just because it was the right thing to do, I would have come clean. I would have been honest, even if it would have been difficult. Even if it would have hurt Zell. I should have been honest. And I wasn't. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life.